What is up, everybody? This is Caleb Noble from What Motivates You. Still kind of new. It's a podcast / simulcast / radio show. We're here live at 963 WJOP and New Report at the NCM Hub. So we just want to say welcome. And my guest with me today is Sarah Hayden. She is from Newburyport. She's not a native of Newburyport, but welcome to the show.
Thank you. These are so strange to have the headphones on. Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can hear myself.
I guess I can hear myself. It's just odd. All right. Well, that's a good introduction.
All right, here we go. How about that? I'll turn it up.
I guess that's... Oh, too loud. All right. Yeah, we don't want Tyler to be all, upset if there are spikes there.
Yeah,
so.
It's too loud. Yeah, it's true. So, well, first of all, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Sarah, we like to do the 3 W's here.
Okay.
When we do this, the who, what, and why. So first, let's just talk about who you are. Kind of like you've been kind of stable in this community for 20 plus years. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Newburyport and in...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I moved here in 1993 with my husband. We came looking at antiques because he has had a few shops. He doesn't sell antiques as much as he used to. He does a little buying and selling on eBay, and sometimes he sets up a Todd Farm. But we came up because we had a friend who thought we'd like it because it was antique. So we stayed at the Clark Courier, and it was great. It was this is awesome. And we were looking around at houses because we were living in Reading, Connecticut, which was super expensive, which now I think it is still more expensive than Newburyport, but it was not. I mean, Newburyport was a lot less. And so we were looking around. We found a couple of places, and then we found this little house for sale, the South End, and it was $95,000. And we had saved all of our money. We had $85,000 in cash, and we put it down on the house. And that was it. We bought the house.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. It's on the market now. We're not selling it. We sold it before for a couple $100,000, but now it's on for $770 or something like that. They totally gutted our cute little house. It was like a little beach house sort of, but it was in the South End. It was really cute.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've been here since 93. How did you get involved? Because for those of you listening or watching, Sarah does a lot in our community, especially with giving people voices and local access television. You've been doing that forever, but you have a passion forever. Almost as long as I've been alive. I'm just kidding.
It's true. It's true. 25 years. That's scary.
It's scary, but it means you're passionate about it.
You were 5.
Yeah, it's true. I just turned 30. So how did you get involved with that? 93? Were you doing that before?
No, my dad was involved on the Cape. He passed away a few years ago, but he was very involved with Cape Cod Community Television, CCTV, it's in Brewster, and now they're like a regional thing, but he was involved, and he said, he was going to do some filming or something. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, cable television, local access. I'm like, what's that? So he told me, and I said, I wonder if they have that in Newburyport. They did. So I went down and I joined, and that was in 1993.
So, and at that point in time, it was regional here, right?
It was Newbury, West Newbury, Raleigh, Ipswich, and Newburyport. Yeah, Newburyport had the most stuff going on, but it was regional.
So what was it like at that? Because that point, it was still VHS and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, the equipment was ridiculously huge, and it was when I joined, there still wasn't. They might have been SVHS tapes, smaller tapes, but there was still beta. One of those big 3/4 inch tapes. So I just remember the equipment being really big, and it was analog editing, which was really tough.
Deck to deck. Yeah.
Oh, it was really miserable. And there was some classes, but not a whole lot of training. The gal who is in Georgetown now, she was running it, and it's kind of was a little bit similar to the way it's done now. A lot of places went from cable owned and operated, which was a conflict of interest in a way, because it was a Continental Cablevision when I was there, and then it went Media One, AT&T, then Comcast. And then, we became a nonprofit in the middle of that. But a lot of them have gone nonprofit because as cable companies diversified and became internet and phone, they just didn't want to have to deal with the community access.
So that was all going on. Like, I know back then, there wasn't really cell phones and stuff like that. And think of like the technology we have just in our hands now with our phones. Like, what have you seen just technology changes over the years?
Well, it's actually really amazing. People don't need to take out video cameras. So I do understand why some access centers do struggle, but there still is a real importance to being able to provide a community voice for those who don't have the means to like distribute. Some people just still don't really know how to distribute, like if they did a video or something like that. Also for the city and school meetings, I think that to know you're getting a meeting that's been unedited or unchanged in any way is really important still. And I think that's a really important reason for us to continue.
That makes sense. Because I know I worked in Newbury for like 6 years doing local access television. And it's just funny because people care about their local government when it's something that has to do with them, but they don't think about it when it's not. They just continue living their lives until someone wants to put up a development or whatever, as wind turbines or solar right behind their houses.
Right, they'll go, wait, was there a meeting on that? Where's that meeting?
Exactly.
And then
So I think that it is huge just to have the, people. I can see outside looking in, like, wow, that seems kind of pointless that we spend our money on.
That's not pointless.
I know, but I'm sure but I can see it, why people would think that it doesn't, what's the point of spending the money on that? But in reality, think of what it does gives transparency. Right?
Exactly. It does give, it is, we can do other meetings as well. We can do budget school meetings. The idea is that people in the community who want to film a meeting can also film a meeting and then share that. And they also can share information that's important to them, whether it's creating their own show, which we still do. We have it set up a little differently now than it was when I was a member back in, when it was on Hale Street a million years ago. It was much more involved to have a show. You'd have a set, the whole thing. It was really involved. Now you can just come sit in the studio and do an interview, and we'll get it up on the channel for you. And we hope to have some more like editing on your cell phone and things like that. So people who don't do that, even if young people, you think, oh yeah, they know everything. They don't know everything. Not everybody knows everything. They don't know how to do stuff. They know how to do a lot, but
yeah. And I think
not everything.
I think there's something to be said for. It's like, I taught for a couple of years high school kids, and what we used to do was teaching them just basic theory of how to use. Everybody knows how to take a picture, everybody knows how to take a video, but how do you have a good photo? How do you have a good video?
Yeah.
And I think that's like good audio is number one, not shaky shots. All that fun stuff, but that's all the stuff they can learn as a resource here at the NSM Hub, right? It's
also learning how to tell a story, within 30 seconds to 3 minutes, depending on what you want. Maybe it can be a little longer, but, we try to put short pieces like that on our bulletin board instead of having people feel they have to do a whole show. They could just do something that's 2 or 3 minutes, and that's perfectly fine. There's a lot more options that people have for here, including podcasting, which is very popular. We've just started getting our SoundCloud going and people, uploading podcasts onto that are made here. So that's good.
And that's huge. I've seen a huge shift in, I watch a lot of sports talk or listen to, and it's just funny because, 5 years ago, it wasn't the thing, but now podcasts are huge. Like people listen to podcasts all the time. Simulcast
is all, yeah.
And like that's what people are drawn to, which is it's amazing. Like people are spending their time listening to people have conversations. Like part of this podcast, simulcast, whatever, everything, radio show, is just to like motivate people, right? And what an awesome opportunity, just like in a space like this, which I would have no access to anywhere else, really, on the North Shore, for sure. And I can have a podcast and do something that I'm passionate about, just talking to people that are passionate about doing other things that I haven't done or I want to learn about, because I think I get motivated and I get inspired by talking to other people that, have gifts and abilities and ideas and, passions.
I mean, I remember when I met you, we were at our other location. So it's like 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah, so you were 24. Yeah. But I had been involved as a volunteer and then got involved in the cable advisory committee and then tried to avoid it like the plague. I didn't want to get involved with the negotiation, but I did. And the reason I kept at it was because I just could tell other people weren't carrying it forward. And I just thought they're going to lose this resource, which, as you see across the country, a lot of access centers have closed down. And now people are a little worried because, overall the FCC is trying to make changes in the franchise fees and the way that we operate, which would devastate a lot of access centers. Hopefully we have a stronger chance of that not happening, just because Massachusetts has like 200 community access centers, and the Department of Public Utilities, I guess, makes the ultimate decision after the FCC decides this, whatever their rule change is about the franchise fee. But it's because it's a good resource, and I recognize that. You do have to be careful of what you volunteer to do, because you might get really into it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, just think about like where you were. You're volunteering. You're on the board, and then you became the executive director, and now.
Yeah, it was Mayor Moak, right? What is his first name? I'm sorry. What is his first name?
I have no idea.
All right, John. Oh, sorry, John, if you're listening to this. He asked me if I could run the nonprofit. Like, do you mind starting up the nonprofit board? And I said, I don't want to do that. I have no idea how to do it. I can't do that. And he goes, oh, we'll all help you. No help.
Trial and error.
I know where he lives.
Yep.
Anyway, people do get really busy, but I did get involved, and
that's like the story of life in general. It's so funny. It's like when someone like does something, like somebody like gets. There's something happening, for example, right? An event. It's like, think of a science project when you're in high school. There's one person does everything, right? And then everybody, the other three people get credit, just like that. And it's just funny it just translates into life too, like how that can happen, right?
Yeah. No, I'm. I feel as long as people feel this is a value, that I feel that's good. But I think sometimes even people in our community, whether it's in our city government or schools or whatever, may not realize the value of this as a resource for the community and to share information. So, that can be disappointing, but that's just part of, life. Yeah.
And I think, and just obviously shows that you're very passionate about the giving a voice to your local community, that you've been through this through thick and thin, and all.
Yeah, and I do think it's really important to have a voice. And for many access centers, it's people who are marginalized. Here, we have less people who might be marginalized, but there are some, and they can have a voice. They can come and make a show, but in like Cambridge or Somerville, they'll have people, Haitian community, Brazilian communities. They make their own shows, and they can, speak in their own language and things like that, which is really super important. So I think the whole idea of community access is very important.
Yeah. So why do you do this? I mean, I know you feel passionate about it.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Well, the thing is, people, this is something I think that happens when you volunteer for something. If it does become, when you volunteer something and it does become a job, it does take on a different thing. It takes on the responsibilities of your life, whether you're paying a mortgage, paying tuition, paying your debts, saving for whatever. That's your job, so it can get a little muddied. I do try to remember, and I had recently thought, I think I should take out the camera and try to learn how to use it more, because that's something I always wanted to do, and I just have never had a whole lot of time. I usually end up in front of the camera because people don't want to do that. So I said, oh, what the heck, I'll do that. Like, I have a few interviews to do this week just to keep things on the channel. But, people who want to join, it's very inexpensive. It's like $25 for students and seniors, $45 for adults, $10 more if you're out of Newburyport. And you can come and you can do your own. You can essentially have a show but it's through our open PortMedia studio. So you just come in, sit down, do an interview. So it'd be like us doing an interview in front of like this, only it goes out on the channel first instead of simulcasting originating here. It's the same really. So anybody can do that. And they don't have to live in Newburyport. They can be in the greater Newburyport area. So,
do you have any stories of any people that came in here and made a big difference in their life?
Yes. Let me think. Well,
or your favorite, I guess,
yeah. Oh, I don't have a lot of warning. But I know there's students that have gone on in college to do that, who have found that this was helpful. It was a great opportunity to be able to have their hands on the equipment and things like that. They normally wouldn't be able to handle the equipment or even like a board or anything like that. They just can't. You just, at an internship, you just kind of, I don't know, do what.
I used to sleep in my internship when I was in college.
Oh, nice.
My first internship.
Was it a community, was it a station?
No, I worked it was a commercial play. It was like they made commercials.
Oh.
And I essentially got coffee for people.
Yeah, well, that's what Tyler says he did at Fordham. He couldn't get near the board or anything. He did. I can't remember what he did. But, I mean, it's a great opportunity because you can get right in there and use the equipment. Yeah. And, if something goes wrong, well, that's too bad.
Figure it out.
Yeah, it's the way it is.
It's like life. That's good.
So there are people, I can't think of the stories, but, there are a few people that have gone on in their careers. I mean, Joe Keary was a teacher here for students, and he's in Stranger Things. That's something.
That's kind of cool.
Of course, he started, his big career launches at the high school. That's it.
That's awesome. No, I know back in 2000, what is it, 14? No, 2013, when I met you. I remember when you were in the old space, and then, I've seen you guys progress. Like I felt like you guys take big leaps and bounds here, and now we're in this new facility. You got the radio, you got everything, you got studio, you got all this cool stuff. What if someone were listening, right, and we're like, hey, how do I want to get involved, or I want to learn how to do stuff, like what would you say to them if they were to come and start asking you questions?
Okay, well, I can answer that, but also I just wanted to say Ben Knight was another person who started in Access, and he has been in a lot of behind the scene. He does lighting, and he's a cinematographer.
Yep.
And hopefully he's going to be able to come and do some lighting with the youth programs we have this summer. I'm praying we can coordinate because he's always on location somewhere, but hopefully, and he's from Newburyport, and he started in Access when he was in high school. So the way people can get involved is just they just have to come in and they become a member, and we just sort of take them step by step. I mean, you can go online and, ask a question on our main page, and it comes to me, and then I'll just answer it. But most likely it's easier just to come in, but it has our hours and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So, and
we help you.
And I mean, I know that
we try.
For some people, right, it's like pretty daunting to come into a new place, have no idea what you're doing, right? Like,
yeah.
What could someone expect if they came in here,
Well, it's a nice atmosphere. We're friendly. For the most part, we're friendly. Sometimes it's a little crazy. Sometimes it's very quiet, and then sometimes it's really very busy. But we're very helpful. If you say what you're interested in doing, then we'll try to get it. We'll try to make it happen. Basically, that's what we do. And then, if you want to be involved with helping us do stuff, you can join and be a member, volunteer producer, and help us with some school sports, city and school meetings. I know people are dying to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn how to use some of the equipment, which is handy. But, I mean, it's helpful. Some people might like to do that. We'd love extra help with that.
That's true. I know you guys have is it 3Play? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
What you do? It's like you can do like instant replay.
Yeah.
Which is that's insane.
I know.
It's super involved too. Which is, I mean, it's amazing that you guys have that, the resources that someone really wants to get involved. Like I just think of, because my background's video too or whatever, and I think of my mentors that I've had over the years with doing video stuff. Like he's my buddy now. He used to be Mr. Lathrop. His name's Bob Lathrop. When I was a senior in high school, it was his first year. He's a music teacher and chorus. I mean, doing like, choirs, and super talented. And he took on doing the video program at my high school. And
I didn't know he started in music.
Yeah, now he's just teaching TV full time. That's all he teaches now. But he was definitely a big influence on my life. Like just getting super passionate about video, then coming out of school and then getting into local access television. And he's one of the first people that helped me learn how to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, I learned even more how to tell a story, because, like here, like you said, like, put people in there, and then you need to troubleshoot on the fly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have to.
It really is hands-on. I mean, we don't have as much, learn and then do. It's like you're going to learn while you're doing. Yeah.
Which is the best way.
Yeah. And then you really can just do more and then ask questions as you go. So you really have to have the interest to begin with. That's just really important to feel like you really want to learn.
Yeah, be at least semi-motivated to,
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I mean, it's not super, super hard to start with the simpler cameras and just do like an interview or something like that. But if some people have a big project in mind. That can be daunting when they come in and realize, like, oh my God, maybe I can't do that. But you got to start somewhere. So.
No, you're right. And I think that if you can have an influence on someone's life, right? Like a positive influence that sends them in a direction.
I think there's a lot of students that have come through that this has been a positive experience. So that I'm happy about.
And what does that mean to you? Like seeing people like the Ben Knights and the people in the world that are doing stuff like, and seeing you've been here for
a long time.
Yeah, 25 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of it.
25 years, yeah.
But what does it mean to you? Like, does it give you motivation? Like what?
It gives value to what I do. That's really what it is. It just gives value. It's a great place for a student to come and to be able to do something that they're interested in doing on equipment they may not have at home, and be able to ask questions. I mean, we don't always have like the class. Like I said, we can't do as much as we used to be able to do just because of our funding, but we will help find an answer. We'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. This is awesome. And then I guess like kind of why you do everything, right? Like you do so much this community, right? And I mean it's almost
kind of behind the scenes doing.
Yeah, and it's almost like thankless sometimes, right?
It can be.
But obviously you're passionate about it, and
I feel like freedom of speech is really important. Absolutely. Yeah. When you become a member, you get a pocket constitution. So
why is having a voice
Because I just was raised to feel like having speaking your mind and being able to say what you think is important. So I think that we should continue to provide the opportunity for that. And across the country today, there are less and less places where people can do that. Newspapers are closing down. I mean, there's a lot of access centers that are closing down, but also it seems like so many places that people can put out information. It doesn't necessarily mean that people feel connected and that they're getting good information. Mm-hmm. So I think it is really important to be able to share information, particularly in your community, like local information about your community, about like the history, whatever's important in your community, whatever's important to people in your community, to be able to share that.
And so that's I mean, it is huge, right? Like that local voice or having an unmuted voice,
Yep.
And is that what gets you out of bed every morning? Is giving people the voice?
Well, what gets me out of bed, I do get up very early, but I love my dog. So she doesn't actually get me out of bed. I get her up. I'm like, come on, let's go. No, I think that doing something that has value in the community is good. I do think that this is the kind of resource that is often overlooked until it's not there. And unfortunately, that is what's going on right now with the FCC trying to change the franchise rule. The franchise fees, I think it's called rulemaking. I don't know what the details are, except for the fact that they're trying to change it so it'll essentially be defunded. And I tried to think ahead, saw this as an opportunity to move here, just in case those things happen. Like over time, yes, that's happening with cord cutting, but I was hoping no one saw this coming. So Chairman Pai has a different idea of what's what, and I don't think it's right. I think that community television is very important to communities, and that the large media organizations should allow it to continue through on their channels. I mean, basically, people are paying for it. They're not paying for it. They do pay for some capital, and of course, you have to use their channels. But I think they should be giving to the community. They take a lot out of a community. So,
can you explain like how local access works?
Yeah.
Like, how is it funded? Like,
okay, yeah, I can do that. So anyone who has the cable that's offered in their community, for Newburyport, it's just Comcast. So in like Newbury, I think it's just Verizon, Dish. So West Newbury, I think, has maybe Verizon, so it could be Dish and Comcast. The city collects fees, franchise fees. So basically, it's just like a renter's fee to run your equipment over the public space, which would be the poles, to people's homes, so that they can get the channels and things like that. So they want to change that so they don't have to pay that anymore. Mm-hmm. So that would be a big difference. We could not raise the money to.
But what is it? It's like 3%, 2%.
It can be max 5% of cable related fees only, not internet, not phone, which is another big thing that we've been fighting in the legislation, trying to get those things changed. We have someone who's a lobbyist down in Washington. It's been really helpful, but still it's very hard to go up against these large, ridiculously big huge corporations with tons of money. So yeah.
So pretty much what you guys operate off of that
yes.
percentage.
That is what. So for us, it's about $320,000 a year. It depends on the community. It depends on your subscribers. We have about 7,000 subscribers, dropping. Could be under 7,000 right now. I'm trying to get the number, but I can't seem to get that number. But maybe it's 6,800. But it's dropping about 10% every year by cord cutters. So our income will drop, and you hope to make it up with some sponsors and things like that. But it's all very hard when you don't have the staff to go out and do marketing or sponsorship or development. It's just a lot. It's a lot to keep the place going and do updates on your equipment, fix things that aren't working. Why isn't the camera on? I don't know. Things like that. Just that kind of stuff. Basic, just the fire of the day.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with all these computers and cameras.
It's a lot. It's a lot right now. Now all our stuff is on Windows 7, and Windows 7 is going to be obsolete. Wonderful. So, we're working on a better website so people can see, and they can look now. It's ncmhub.org, and it's Greater Newburyport Community Media Hub, which is the home of PortMedia and WJOP, and also we have a Packet Post, which is a citizen journalism project.
Cool.
It's all on the website.
So if someone wants to get involved, ncmhub.org.
Yes. N, Nancy, M, Mary, C, Charlie, ncmhub.org. Or they can just come down to the senior center. If we're open, come on in.
Sounds good. Yeah, because it's important. Like, I think if anything I've gotten from this conversation is that having a voice for your community is huge. And especially, like you said, like if it's, people don't realize it until it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
we're also very lucky because we have the license for this low power FM radio, which is separate from Comcast. I mean, it's now in a location that's in a city building, which is a plus.
Yep.
Because it has a little more security than being out somewhere where it's not in a city building, and it could, you could get kicked out or something like that. So that's really good, and I think this radio is a huge value to the community. That's
cool. So you're kind of like the silent kind of person behind the scenes, like
yes.
Are in so many different facets of life, that
I'm behind the scenes, but I'm in front of the camera. But people who want to be in front of the camera, who like interviewing, they can do it. It's really great. Come, it's a lot of fun.
So is there anything else you want to say before we're done?
If people want to, be supportive of what we're doing and see what's going on, they can look at our website. We have a Facebook page, NCM Hub. We also are on Twitter, NCM. I think it's NCM Hub. Yeah, it's at Newbury NBPT Media Hub. That's come and make content. That's what we need.
Well, that's good. I think
People who want to submit pictures, little interviews, make big interviews, whatever they want to do.
so. You can literally do anything you put your mind to.
Yes.
There, which I think is huge. And well, we just appreciate your time today. Hearing what motivates you. I mean, I think what motivates people doesn't have to be a business. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Like, what motivates you is giving people a voice, which I think that some people don't think of that.
It's also
sometimes.
when I hear someone call and say they really love the music that's on the radio, it makes me feel happy, because we're trying to play music that they wouldn't hear necessarily otherwise, because we do play classical jazz, local music artists that are local, and then roots music, and
That's awesome.
I think it's good music. I think it's great. Yeah,
no, it's good. So thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate it. And you're listening to What Motivates You with Caleb Noble. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.